Hey, happy Friday. This week, Instagram launched Threads, its Twitter competitor, and there's just so much to talk about. Zuckerberg then outsmarted regulators, potentially once again, and China started its very own trade war. Welcome to the Friday Checkout. This video was sponsored by our streaming service Nebula. Okay, this week we start the brief with a whole lot of phone news. There's an incredible amount of it. First up, Samsung announced the 26th of July as the date of its unpacked launch event for the Galaxy Z Fold 5 and the Galaxy Z Flip 5 in Seoul, South Korea, called Join the Flip Side. And hey Samsung, I've been on the Galaxy Z Fold 3 for 2 whole years now, so you damn well better give me a reason to upgrade. Also in foldable land, Xiaomi confirmed that the Mi Mix Fold 3 is coming in August, but probably only in China. We'll see. Next, Nothing continued drip feeding us the Phone 2 with a design video from MKBHD, while all other specs are being released one by one as well, so soon we'll be able to assemble a whole phone just from the rumors. Then the world also saw its first ever phone with 24 gigs of RAM this week in the form of the Red Magic 8S Pro. Fun fact, that is 16 gigs more than my MacBook Air has, which this video was made on. The repairability train didn't stop this week either, so now the Fairphone 4 is finally officially available in the United States. Weirdly, US folks get the E operating system by default, which is basically a de-googled Android, but you can of course flash your own operating system if you want, and there's an extended 5-year warranty for the hardware on top of the extreme repairability as well, so that is all a pretty cool package. Also this week, the first photos of a kind of production-ready Google Pixel 8 just got leaked on Reddit, and yeah, this looks like a Pixel to me, just with a bigger camera module for the supposedly bigger almost 1-inch camera sensor. And talking of Pixel, Japan just became the largest phone market for Google's phone business, surpassing even the United States. 34% of all Pixels worldwide are now sold in Japan. Google got a 9% market share in the country, and weirdly enough, this was enough for them to become the second largest phone brand there after just Apple. That is a bizarrely good position for Google compared to the rest of the world. Also this week, Apple apparently had to reduce forecasts of its Vision Pro headset from 1 million to just 400,000 units for 2024. This is apparently not due to a lack of demand, but instead the company simply running into display production limitations. That is too bad. And after all the hype, ChatGPT just saw its first ever decline in monthly traffic at 9.7% fewer visits over last month. You can see that the curve has clearly peaked, at least for now, but you can also see that it is still well over 1.5 billion visits a month, which is more than all of Bing combined, so it's hardly going away anytime soon. But hey, don't worry, there is now an e-bike with ChatGPT built in. You heard that right. The Eurotopia Fusion is an e-bike that lets you talk to ChatGPT while you ride. Yeah, that will definitely fix everything. Okay, for my first story of the week, we'll have to talk about Threads, the new Instagram app that will apparently kill Twitter. At least that's what they're trying to do, and there's a baffling amount of news already. So Threads launched this week, and the big power move is that you can basically bring over your existing Instagram followers to Threads so you don't have to start from scratch. Apparently more than 30 million people sign up in less than 24 hours, which is many times more than what new networks like Mastodon or Blue Sky had combined. This is a potentially huge redemption story for Zuckerberg, who got previously ripped for their failed attempt to build a metaverse, at least for now. And just as an interesting comparison, Quest altogether has sold about 20 million units, so Threads managed to surpass them in just purely user numbers in less than a day. Zuck himself reportedly rushed the launch of Threads, going live a day earlier than it was supposed to be launched, and probably weeks and months before the actual initial targets, which he likely did to capitalize on Elon's new genius move of limiting how many tweets people can see. Then, to spice things up, Zuck also tweeted for the first time in a decade, and this is actually a surprisingly good joke that makes me think that somebody else created it on his behalf, and he then said on Threads that, quote, there should be a public conversation app with 1 billion plus people on it, but he complained that Twitter failed at this. And then Twitter, just yesterday, reportedly threatened to sue Meta for poaching their employees, who the company has just unceremoniously fired themselves, and for Meta launching a copycat application. And while that is arguably true, software companies typically blatantly copy each other all the time and get away with it without any big issues, and if anyone has a ton of experience in this area, it is probably Team Zuck, so I'm not sure if this lawsuit will actually go anywhere. Still, Threads was definitely a rushed project as it doesn't have a desktop app, you can't embed embed GIFs, you can't search text. It is not available in the EU yet due to various legal reasons, plus people are reporting that they get a lot of garbage recommendations after signing up, so the Instagram team clearly has a lot to do before they can declare victory. Anyway, let the digital, or I suppose actual physical cage match between tech billionaires begin. I'm all here for the spectacle, but before we move on, here's a meme that I think pretty much perfectly sums up where we are right now. It hits a little bit too close to home. And if you're wondering, I don't have threads, but if you want to check my accounts on Mastodon or Blue Sky, those are linked in the description. Okay, for my second story of the week, China has announced that it will restrict the export of gallium and germanium from the 1st of August, which are two metals that are vital to chip making. Most interesting for us is that China also wants to extend the limits to metal compounds, which includes gallium nitride, which you know as GaN, which you might recognize from the cool new super compact chargers. Gallium nitride is used in many of the next-gen power semiconductors as they can handle higher power, high frequencies, and increasingly higher voltages with great efficiency. So apart from your phone charger, they are also important for EV chargers, renewable energy tech like solar inverters, health tech, and military tech as well. Meanwhile, gallium arsenide, for example, is used in fiber optics, infrared optics, and even super high efficiency, super expensive solar cells for satellites in space. So how bad is this really? Well, it kind of depends. First, we're only talking about the raw materials as far as I can tell, and not the actual finished products if they are made in China. Second, China accounts for about 80 to 60% of the global gallium and germanium production, respectively, according to the Critical Raw Materials Alliance. Third, exporters can actually apply for licenses if they want to continue shipping the products out of China, so we don't know how closely China will guard these materials. And fourth, a bunch of big companies like TSMC have already said that actually all of this is fine. In other words, we'll just have to wait and see, but perhaps more worrying is that China says this might just be the beginning and that other export bans might follow soon too. Okay, and for my third story of the week, the European Union's next big tech legislation, the Digital Markets Act, is starting to go live, and there seem to be rumors of unintended consequences already. So 7 massive companies, specifically Alphabet, Amazon, Apple, ByteDance, Meta, Microsoft, and Samsung, met the test of being defined as gatekeepers, and it looks like Booking.com might be included next year too. This means that these are the companies that will have to massively change their operations in the EU starting on the 6th of September, following which they will have 6 months to comply with the DMA's rules. I've already made a whole explainer video on the rules of the DMA before, but just as a reminder, here are the 4 most important rules. Allowing users to delete pre-installed apps from their devices, allowing users to pick alternative app stores, forcing interoperability between messaging apps, and forbidding gatekeepers from treating their own products and services more favorably than those of competitors. Again, this is such a radical rethinking of how the internet should work that there are bound to be many unintended consequences, and it seems like Meta was the first to find a little loophole for itself. Apparently, the company is reportedly turning Facebook into an app store. Specifically, they will let app developers buy ads inside Facebook that will promote their apps, and instead of those ads then taking you to the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, the ads will simply install the apps directly on the user's phone, with Facebook being responsible for hosting the apps, managing updates, publishing reviews, etc. The EU might have hoped for competition to emerge in the form of alternative app stores that would take on those from Google and Apple, but of course companies will just interpret the law to however they see fit. And if Facebook can do this, then I guess so can any random app. So maybe someday soon I'll have to explain to my grandma why she should not install apps from within other apps. I can't wait. Alright, you know the feeling when you find some super high quality S-tier video online, you know, like a fantastic video essay or something like that? Well, that feeling is happening to me more and more over on Nebula these days. No joke, many Nebula original series have become actual favorites of mine by now. The new series called Red Atoms by Real Time History about the nuclear program of the Soviet Union is just so incredibly well made. Wendover's new Logistics of X series, covering things like how actual rescue missions are operated, is just so peak Wendover. The Underexposure series from Neo dives into some of the best mysteries with exquisite quality, and of course I upload a ton of Nebula exclusive content to the platform as well. I just dropped a whole video that covers my conversations with Carl Pei from Nothing just last week. I have a whole 8-part Nebula original series called Technorama and so much more. Nebula is a streaming service built by the absolute smartest creators on the internet, and on top of hosting our originals, it also of course features all of our usual content, ad-free and typically early access too. It's like all your favorite creators but together and on steroids. And because the platform is directly supported by people like you who sign up, there's no shady ads, no tracking, nothing of the sort, and you know that your money actually goes towards supporting us and towards creating more amazing content. If you use my link, which you can find in the description below or on screen, you can get a yearly subscription for just $30, which is a $20 discount versus just using a generic link to sign up, so check it out. I really hope you enjoy all the stuff that we put out there, and I'll see you next Friday.